stop adding sugar and creamer to your morning coffee, because what I'm about to share with you today could completely change the way you think about that cup sitting in front of you right now. I'm not talking about fancy lattes or expensive coffee shop drinks. I'm talking about adding one simple ancient powder to your regular morning coffee that researchers are now calling one of the most powerful interventions for aging adults discovered in the last 2 decades. And the number one item on today's list, I promise you, is going to shock you. Most people have never even heard of it being used this way. A landmark study published by researchers at the University of Texas Medical Branch found that adults over the age of 65 who combined specific nutritional supplements with their morning routine showed up to a 67% improvement in muscle protein synthesis. That's your body's ability to build and repair muscle, compared to those who didn't. 67%, that's not a small number. That is the difference between aging with strength and aging with fragility. And before we dive in, I want to ask you something personally. Drop your age in the comments below and tell me, when was the last time you felt truly energetic in the morning? Not just okay, truly alive and ready for the day. I read every single comment on this channel, and your answers genuinely shape the content I make for you. Now let's get into it. Today I'm counting down 5 powders you can add to your morning coffee, ranked from least to most powerful. And by the time we reach number 1, you're going to understand why so many doctors, myself included, wish this information was being talked about more openly in mainstream medicine. These are the things that often get overlooked in a 10-minute doctor's appointment, but can genuinely transform the second half of your life. Starting at number 5, and this one surprises most people because they think of it as something you'd only find in a bakery: cinnamon. Now, before you scroll past, hear me out, because the science behind what cinnamon does inside an aging body is genuinely remarkable. Most people think of cinnamon as a spice that makes oatmeal taste better. What they don't tell you is that cinnamon contains a compound called cinnamaldehyde, and when this compound enters your bloodstream, it acts like a traffic controller for glucose, that's blood sugar, directing it efficiently into your muscle cells instead of letting it pile up in your blood where it causes damage. Researchers at the Human Nutrition Research Center on Aging at Tufts University found that cinnamon supplementation reduced fasting blood glucose levels by as much as 29% in older adults. Here's why that matters specifically for people over 60. After the age of 60, your body's insulin sensitivity, that's how well your cells listen to the signal telling them to absorb sugar, drops significantly. By the time you're 75, many adults have up to a 40% reduction in insulin sensitivity compared to when they were 40. That means sugar is spending more time circulating in your bloodstream, attaching to proteins in a process called glycation, which damages blood vessels, nerves, and organs. Cinnamon essentially turns up the volume on that insulin signal so your cells can hear it again. I had a patient, a retired school teacher named Margaret, 72 years old, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She came to me with what she described as afternoon crashes, where by 2 o'clock she felt like someone had pulled the plug on her energy. Within 6 weeks of adding half a teaspoon of Ceylon Cinnamon to her morning coffee, she told me she hadn't needed an afternoon nap in a month. Her follow-up blood work showed her fasting glucose had dropped 18 points. She cried in my office that day. Here's how to use it properly. You want Ceylon cinnamon specifically, not the common cassia cinnamon you find in most grocery stores. Cassia contains higher levels of a compound called coumarin, which in large amounts can stress the liver. Ceylon is the true cinnamon, and it's widely available in health food stores and online. Add 1/4 to half a teaspoon to your coffee grounds before brewing, or stir it directly into your cup. The fat in your coffee, or even a small splash of whole milk, actually helps with absorption. Pair it with your breakfast rather than drinking it on an empty stomach for the best blood sugar response. And the synergy tip here is this: combine cinnamon with a source of healthy fat, like a teaspoon of grass-fed butter or coconut oil in your coffee, and the fat-soluble compounds in cinnamon are absorbed at nearly 3 times the rate. Scientific references are linked in the description below. Moving to number 4, and this one has been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years in traditional medicine, but is only now getting serious attention from Western researchers: turmeric. Specifically, the active compound inside turmeric called curcumin. Think of curcumin like a fire extinguisher that your body desperately needs more of as you age. Here's what I mean. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the primary drivers of nearly every age-related disease: heart disease, arthritis, cognitive decline, even certain cancers. Scientists have a word for it now: inflammagen. It literally means inflammation-driven aging. And after 65, the inflammatory signals in your body run hotter and quieter at the same time. You may not feel them dramatically, but they are steadily doing damage at the cellular level. A study from the University of California, Los Angeles found that adults who supplemented with curcumin over 18 months showed a 28% reduction in markers of neuroinflammation and significantly better scores on memory tests compared to a placebo group. 28%. For context, those are the kinds of memory improvements people hope for from expensive pharmaceutical interventions, and they came from a natural compound found in a yellow spice. Here's the catch, and this is what most people don't know. Plain turmeric powder has very poor bioavailability. That's a medical term meaning your body struggles to absorb it. On its own, curcumin passes through your digestive system largely without being absorbed. But here is where the synergy tip changes everything. When you combine curcumin with black pepper, specifically a compound in black pepper called piperine, absorption increases by up to 2,000%. That is not a typo. 2,000%. Add a tiny pinch of black pepper to your turmeric coffee blend, and you've just turned a mildly helpful spice into a genuinely potent anti-inflammatory tool. Add half a teaspoon of high-quality turmeric powder to your coffee, along with that small pinch of black pepper, again adding it to a coffee with some fat. A splash of full-fat cream, a small spoon of coconut oil further enhances absorption because curcumin is also fat-soluble. Drink it in the morning when cortisol, your body's natural morning stress hormone, is at its highest, because curcumin helps modulate the inflammatory cascade that cortisol can trigger. I want to tell you about a man named Harold, 78 years old, from Tucson, Arizona. Harold was a Vietnam veteran who'd been dealing with knee pain for over 15 years. He told me he'd tried everything. He started adding turmeric with black pepper to his morning coffee, along with a short 10-minute morning walk. And at his 3-month checkup, he told me he'd gone back to playing chess at the community center for the first time in 2 years because he could sit comfortably for more than 20 minutes. Small change, enormous impact on quality of life. Now, before we get into the top 3, I want to take just a moment to say, if this information is helping you, if you feel like someone is finally talking to you honestly about your health and your future, please hit the subscribe button right now and give this video a thumbs up. There are hundreds of thousands of seniors who need to hear this information, and your support is what allows this channel to reach them. Thank you. Now back to the list. Number 3 is where we start getting into territory that most mainstream health conversations completely ignore for older adults, and it genuinely frustrates me as a physician. The powder I'm talking about is collagen, specifically hydrolyzed collagen peptides. Now, you may have seen collagen marketed to younger women for skin and hair, and yes, it does help with that. But the application for aging bodies goes so much deeper, and the science is far more impressive than any beauty brand will tell you. Collagen is the most abundant protein in your human body. It is the structural scaffolding of your joints, your bones, your arterial walls, your gut lining, and your skin. Think of collagen like the mortar between the bricks in a building. When you're young, your body produces plenty of it and constantly repairs it. But after 40, collagen production begins to decline. And by the age of 70, your body's natural collagen synthesis has dropped by as much as 75% compared to your 20s. 75%. The scaffolding is literally crumbling, and most people have no idea. Researchers at Penn State University published a study in which older athletes who supplemented with 15 grams of hydrolyzed collagen before exercise showed a 20% greater increase in connective tissue collagen synthesis compared to those taking a placebo. What's remarkable about hydrolyzed collagen specifically is that the protein has already been broken down into small peptides. Think of it like a delivery truck that's already been unloaded. Your aging digestive system, which becomes less efficient after 65, doesn't have to work hard to break it down. It goes directly into circulation and gets to work repairing joints, fortifying blood vessels, and supporting the gut lining. For seniors dealing with joint discomfort, this is particularly relevant. A randomized controlled trial at the University of Freiburg in Germany found that 10 grams of collagen peptides daily for 24 weeks resulted in a statistically significant reduction in joint pain scores in adults over 65. 10 grams. That's approximately 1 heaping scoop of collagen powder. Here's how to add it to your coffee perfectly. Hydrolyzed collagen peptides are flavorless and dissolve completely in hot or cold liquid. You will not taste it. You will not change the texture of your coffee at all. Add 10 to 15 grams, that's roughly 1 to 1.5 tablespoons, directly to your freshly brewed coffee and stir. Consume it in the morning because the amino acids in collagen, particularly glycine and proline, work synergistically with the natural overnight fast your body has just completed, giving your tissues a fresh supply of building materials first thing in the morning. The synergy tip here: combine collagen with vitamin C. Vitamin C is an essential cofactor in collagen synthesis, meaning your body literally cannot build new collagen without it. Squeeze a small amount of lemon into your morning routine alongside that collagen coffee, or take a vitamin C supplement with breakfast. I think of a patient named Dorothy, 81 years old, from Portland, Oregon. Dorothy had been told by her orthopedic surgeon that she'd need knee replacement surgery within 2 years. She came to me asking if there was anything she could do nutritionally in the meantime. We added collagen peptides to her morning coffee alongside a targeted exercise routine. At her 14-month follow-up, her surgeon told her the surgical timeline was no longer being actively discussed. Dorothy's exact words to me were, "I got my garden back." And that is why I do this work. Number 2 on our list is one that even many physicians I've spoken with are not fully aware of in this specific context. And the research emerging from places like Harvard Medical School and MIT is turning decades of conventional wisdom on its head. The powder is creatine monohydrate. Now, if you're over 60 and you just thought, isn't that for young bodybuilders? I understand that reaction completely. That is exactly the misconception that has kept one of the most researched and safest supplements in the world away from the people who need it most. Creatine is a naturally occurring compound that your body makes in the liver and kidneys from amino acids, and it stores primarily in your muscle cells and brain cells as a rapid energy reserve. Think of creatine like a backup battery. When your cells need a sudden burst of energy, creatine provides it almost instantly. The problem is that from the age of 60 onward, your body's natural creatine stores decline by approximately 30 to 40% compared to younger adults, and dietary intake from red meat, the primary food source, tends to decrease as people age for various reasons. Here is where it gets genuinely exciting. A meta-analysis published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition analyzed 22 studies on creatine supplementation in older adults and found that creatine combined with resistance training resulted in 3.1 kilograms, that's nearly 7 pounds, more lean muscle mass gained compared to exercise alone. But the brain findings are what truly set this apart from every other supplement on this list. Researchers at McMaster University in Canada found that older adults supplementing with creatine showed a 15% improvement in working memory tests and significant improvements in processing speed. That's how quickly your brain responds to information. Here's the science behind why. Your brain cells, like your muscle cells, rely heavily on a compound called ATP for energy, adenosine triphosphate, which is essentially the energy currency of every cell in your body. Creatine increases the available pool of ATP in brain cells, allowing neurons to fire faster and recover more efficiently. For aging brains dealing with the natural slowing of neural communication, this is profoundly meaningful. After 70, a process called sarcopenia, age-related muscle loss, accelerates dramatically. Most older adults lose between 1 and 2% of their muscle mass every single year after 65. Muscle is not just about looking strong. Muscle is your metabolic engine. It's your fall prevention system. It's where 80% of glucose disposal happens. Losing it is one of the most dangerous things that happens to aging bodies, and creatine is one of the very few interventions with robust scientific support for slowing that process. How to use it in your coffee. Add 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate, that's roughly 1 level teaspoon, to your morning coffee. Creatine dissolves reasonably well in warm liquid. Consistency matters far more than timing. You do not need to load creatine the way bodybuilding culture has traditionally suggested. For older adults, a steady 3 to 5 grams daily produces the same tissue saturation over 2 to 4 weeks without any of the water retention that aggressive loading can cause. The synergy tip here is crucial. Creatine absorption is significantly enhanced in the presence of carbohydrates and protein. If you drink your coffee alongside even a small breakfast that includes both, think eggs and a piece of toast, the insulin response from that meal helps shuttle creatine into your cells more effectively. I want to tell you about Robert, 74 years old, from Nashville, Tennessee. Robert came to me having fallen twice in 1 year, both times reaching for something on a high shelf. He was terrified of falling again. He started a gentle resistance training program and added creatine to his morning coffee. 8 months later, his grip strength, which is one of the single best predictors of longevity and fall risk in older adults, had improved by 22%. He told me he no longer holds the handrail going downstairs because he trusts his legs again. That is what creatine can do for someone at 74. And now number 1, the powder that I teased at the beginning of this video. The one that researchers are increasingly calling the most underutilized longevity intervention available without a prescription. The one that when I tell patients about it, they look at me like I've told them a secret their doctor should have mentioned years ago. That powder is lion's mane mushroom, a functional mushroom that has been used in Eastern medicine for over 1,000 years and is now the subject of some of the most exciting neuroscience research happening anywhere in the world. Let me explain what makes lion's mane extraordinary and why its effects are uniquely powerful for aging brains. Your brain contains a protein called NGF, nerve growth factor. This protein is like a fertilizer for your neurons. It helps them grow, branch, connect, and repair themselves. When you're young, NGF production is robust. But as you age, NGF levels decline. And this decline is directly correlated with the cognitive symptoms most seniors dread. The word that won't come, the name you forgot, the mental fogginess that wasn't there at 50. Lion's mane mushroom contains 2 unique compounds found nowhere else in nature, hericenones and arenosines. And here's what makes them remarkable. These compounds cross the blood-brain barrier, meaning they travel from your digestive system directly into brain tissue, and they stimulate the production of NGF. They are, as far as current research suggests, among the only natural compounds known to do this reliably. A study published in the journal Biomedical Research found that older adults with mild cognitive impairment who took lion's mane for 16 weeks scored significantly higher on cognitive function scales compared to a placebo group. And crucially, those improvements began to reverse when supplementation was stopped, confirming that the mushroom was the active variable. Researchers at the University of Queensland in Australia identified the specific erinacine compounds responsible for promoting neuron growth and published findings suggesting that lion's mane may support the prevention of neurodegenerative conditions. The scientific references are all linked in the description. Here's what's happening at the cellular level, and I want you to really understand this because it's extraordinary. Your brain, after the age of 60, undergoes a process called synaptic pruning. Connections between neurons are lost faster than new ones are made. This is part of why learning new things can feel harder and why memories take longer to retrieve. Lion's mane, through its stimulation of NGF, actively promotes neurogenesis. That means the growth of new brain cells, and synaptogenesis, the formation of new connections between neurons. You are not stuck with a declining brain. That is one of the most important things modern neuroscience is telling us, and lion's mane appears to be one of the most promising natural tools we have to act on that knowledge. Beyond cognition, lion's mane also demonstrates meaningful effects on mood. A study from Hokkaido University in Japan found that women who consumed lion's mane for 4 weeks reported significantly lower levels of anxiety and depression compared to controls. This appears to be related to its effect on nerve regeneration in the gut-brain axis, the direct communication highway between your intestinal nervous system and your brain. For seniors who deal with the emotional weight of aging, this secondary benefit is not a small thing. How to use lion's mane in your coffee. Add 1 to 2 teaspoons of a high-quality lion's mane mushroom powder to your morning coffee. Look for a dual extract powder. This means it has been extracted using both hot water and alcohol, which ensures you're getting both the water-soluble and fat-soluble active compounds. Single extraction products are significantly less potent. The powder has a very mild, slightly earthy flavor that blends seamlessly into coffee without altering the taste. Take it consistently. The cognitive benefits tend to become noticeable at the 4 to 8 week mark, so patience is important here. Do not expect overnight results. What you are doing is a long-term investment in your brain's infrastructure. The synergy tip for lion's mane is one of the most fascinating in nutritional science. Lion's mane pairs powerfully with creatine, and yes, you can add both to the same cup of coffee simultaneously. The creatine supports energy availability in brain cells, while the lion's mane stimulates the growth of new neural connections. Together, you are providing both the fuel and the scaffolding for a healthier, more resilient brain. Some researchers are beginning to refer to this combination as a neural optimization stack for aging adults. I'll tell you about one final patient, and this one means a great deal to me personally. Her name is Eleanor, 79 years old, from Charleston, South Carolina. Eleanor's daughter brought her to me because Eleanor had begun struggling to remember the names of her 6 grandchildren. She would look at their faces and feel the name floating just out of reach. It was breaking her heart and frightening her family. Eleanor started lion's mane in her morning coffee, along with the collagen and creatine we had already discussed. At her 6-month visit, she sat across from me and named all 6 grandchildren in birth order without hesitating. She then looked at me and said, "I feel like I got myself back." I carry that moment with me. It is why I believe so deeply that this information deserves to be heard by every senior who is quietly worried about losing their sharpness. Here is what I want you to understand as we close today. You are not simply at the mercy of aging. The idea that cognitive decline, muscle loss, joint deterioration, and fatigue are inevitable and untreatable is one of the most damaging myths in modern medicine. Yes, the body changes. Yes, there are real biological processes at work after 60, after 70, after 80. But the research, real, peer-reviewed, institutionally supported research, is telling us with increasing clarity that what you put into your body every single morning can meaningfully influence how those processes unfold. A cup of coffee is something most of you are already making. The question is simply what you add to it. 5 powerful compounds, 1 cup of coffee. The difference between watching your independence erode and actively fighting to protect it. Whether you're 62 or 82, whether you feel sharp or foggy, whether you feel strong or fragile, it is never too late. The biology does not lie. Your cells are still responding to what you give them. Every morning is a new opportunity to give them something extraordinary. Your grandchildren need you present. Your garden needs you. Your partner, your friends, your own story. They need you here and they need you whole. Do not let anyone, not a busy doctor, not a pharmaceutical system that profits more from your dependence than your health, not even your own resignation, convince you that you've run out of road. You haven't. If this video helped you, if it gave you something to bring to your doctor or something to try tomorrow morning, please subscribe to this channel so you never miss what we put out for you. And I genuinely want to know, which of these 5 powders are you most excited to try? Leave it in the comments below and drop your age while you're there, because I want to know who I'm speaking to, and I promise I read every single one.